Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Romantasy Readers Podcast. You've got Allie here, and as always, I'm joined by the fantastic Nicole. How are you today,
Yay!
Nicole?
I'm good. My brain is exploding with Taylor Swift songs. I've been dreaming about Taylor Swift songs. That's all
Well,
I've been
now you're
listening
right
to.
there where the rest of us are. If you haven't caught on yet, we're talking about Taylor Swift today. And we are doing a Taylor Swift 101, but making it bookish. So if you like Taylor Swift, I think, and you know every tiny little detail about her, I think you'll find value in this episode because we're going to talk about like bookish songs, romantasy, kind of like books that connect to albums. And if you don't know anything about Taylor Swift, like Nicole, or very little, let's say, you also might enjoy this episode. Even if you don't like Taylor Swift, I think you'll find some fun in this episode. But
Exactly. We're
before
gonna
we
be.
dive too deep, go ahead, Nicole.
I was gonna say that, like, it's hopefully we'll kind of cover both because you're gonna have Ali here who knows her Taylor Swift inside out, back to front, is a full-on committed, loyal Swiftie, and then you've got
Yep.
me who's just occasionally hears Taylor Swift in the car and goes, "Oh yeah, that's a pretty good track," and doesn't think much more of it, and is more obsessed with more of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce romance. That's more where my interest level is, but I am very interested to see if Ali can fill my world with Taylor Swift and inspire me to become a Swiftie too. Is it possible to take a non-Swiftie and turn them into a Swiftie? That is the question.
We will see. I'm wearing a very special sweatshirt today. So, for those who are listening, you won't be able to see, but for those on YouTube, you can see. My husband got me this sweatshirt, and I was like, you
Mhm.
did so good picking this out. It is all of Taylor Swift's albums as books.
Nice.
So it's like a little
It
bookshelf, and then
is.
it has like Taylor Swift albums. It doesn't have the most recent Taylor Swift. It just goes up to midnight. So I'll
Just
have to
gonna
get a
have to
new
add
one.
it on.
Yeah, but it's super cute. Little books, little Taylor Swift, which are my two great passions.
Mhm.
So I'm super excited.
Blending them together.
Yeah.
Well,
Before
I
we
wanted, hang on, I want to jump into. I wanted to make today special, and in light of this episode being about Taylor Swift, I feel like I need to apply a red lipstick because
I think you
Taylor
do.
Swift loves a red lip, and I feel like it is only makes sense to apply one. So I've got two shades here, depending on your
Ooh,
preferences. And Ali, do you have any as well?
I do. I brought my Taylor Swift lip color, and this is the closest I have to her red. It's like the very bright red lip that Taylor does.
Yeah,
So
well, I've got a dark red. Oh god, that's a bit hard to say. Okay, dark red lip, and then I've got more of a bright red. So, which shade do you think is more Taylor?
I think you should do the darker red.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because she's, like when she gets into like the rep era, and even recently, she's been doing more of a darker red. Her midnights look is a little bit of a darker red. It's not
Okay.
her quite so poppy. So you put yours on, and I will continue to talk so that we don't have dead
I'm
air,
gonna
and then
like
we'll
try
switch.
and do it to the
Otherwise, it would just be
camera.
listeners
This
just like
this
listening
is
to us.
great. This is really not risky at all. Like I'm gonna end up with it. I'm gonna end up with it everywhere. For everyone that wears a red lip, they know that it is not easy to apply. Like
No, especially when we're just trying looking at like a camera and not
a little
a
video.
mirror or something. I feel like I wish I had like a little compact mirror, but I don't.
Mm.
Um,
Use
I
my
think that looks
phone.
good. I think you look very Taylor Swift. You've got the blonde going for you too.
That's it.
So,
I'm just bringing my Taylor Swift era. There we go, guys.
yeah. I
All
was
right, all
thinking
right.
like, should I use my phone camera? I think I'm gonna
Yeah,
use my phone camera.
yeah. That's
Why
it.
not?
That's just exactly. It's
Just to
just
get
like
it right.
gives you a thing. So yeah. So what do you think, guys? Is that kind of? I feel very Taylor Swift now. It gives you so much power. Like a red lip is like it's a power move.
Absolutely.
It's just like don't mess with me. I'm feeling very I don't know a lot of her tracks, but Reputation right now. This feels very Reputation era. But I do feel like I'm very fair, and as soon as I put a red lip on, I feel like my skin just goes like 2 shades lighter.
Same. I'm like looking at myself and I'm like, oh, this does not look good on me.
I've got fake tan on as well, so it's like I tried to tan up extra. So I'm like, I'm gonna apply a red lip. I'm gonna look fair.
Yeah, I'm like turning down my like ring light because otherwise it's there we go. Like that way I'm not quite so bled out. I think we look fabulous. Let us know what you think. But we're definitely in our Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift look with our red lip.
Okay.
I think that's perfect. So before we dive in too deep on Taylor Swift, are you reading anything this week, Nicole?
I am. Oh my gosh. I just finished Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Have
Ooh, I have
you?
heard so much about it. I haven't read it yet. Tell me everything you think about it.
Oh my God. Oh, it was so good. It was just, I can't even process. It was, so I read it in like 2 days, and that's only because I was so busy like working that I couldn't just read nonstop. The main MMC Low was just delicious. He was just so gorgeous. It was, I mean, Ali Hazelwood is the one, because I'm generally very romanticy, right? I find just general romance or comedy romances aren't really enough story for me. I need that bigger world kind of added into it for the interest level. But Ali Hazelwood is my exception because she's so intelligent, she's so funny, and I love her books. And then she goes and writes this, and it's about werewolves, and it's about vampires, and it's like romanticy, and it's enemies to lovers, and I'm just like, oh, it was just everything. It was, the romance is amazing. I'm hoping it's not a standalone book. I'm hoping we're getting more because it was just such a good read. It was so enjoyable. It just, oh, it's spicy in all the right ways. It's just got all the pieces that you would love. And I think, and I've heard from so many people since just sharing that I've been reading it, just saying how much they love the book as well. So highly recommend that one. 5 stars, no doubt about it. It's awesome.
Okay, so maybe I need to read it so we can cover it on the podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
I will add it to my TBR. I am just going to call out. I realized as you were talking that I had my mic plugged in, but it was behind my computer because I was like earlier, I was like writing something and I moved it and then I forgot to move it back. So hopefully you can hear me better now. But if there's like a weird, like, oh, Allie's coming in clearer, that's why. Because I moved my mic back.
All right, just keep talking, bitches. We're all good now.
Yeah. I am still reading, or maybe depending on when this podcast episode comes out, this may be the first time I talk about this series, but I'm reading the Hades and Persephone series by Scarlett St. Clair.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on book 4 now, so I'm on the last book. I've just been like powering through them.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it. I wouldn't say they're like 5-star books or anything. Like there's not as much plot as I typically want in my book. There's a lot more spice than plot. But they're super good. I've just been listening to them and I love a good audiobook. So that's what I've been doing, is just listening to those.
I really want to do that because I want to reread The Bridge Kingdom and all those again in preparation for Danielle Jensen. And I think I want to try and get them in audiobook because I need to do more audiobooks. I just haven't done many of them, but I know it's such a nice way to read. It's more relaxing. You can just do it while you're cleaning the house and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I really need to like get organized and go and download some audiobooks.
Yeah, it's getting warm here in Utah, which means yard work. Not only do my husband and I have a large yard, but I am just like constantly doing new projects. This week I decided to just like rip out the grass in half my yard and like plant wildflower seeds. Which is cool, but it's just so much work. So I was like, okay, audiobook, that's perfect. I can do anything if I've got a good audiobook.
I'm jealous. It's getting cold here now. So like daylight savings has ended. It's going, we're going into hibernation. Like it's just getting cold and rainy. And I'm sad because for everyone that doesn't know, I love hot weather and I loathe cold weather. So even though you have the occasional cute night of being like, oh, let's just like watch a movie and be all cozy or read a good book. Otherwise, I'm just like, yeah, nah, I could do it in the heat as well. Like it doesn't stop me.
Yeah. I like the spring It gets really hot here in the summer, so I'm not looking forward to that. I'm more of a cold weather person, but I do
Yeah.
really I like having my yard like really nice and pretty. So
Mm. So
doing lots of
cute.
yard work.
Yeah,
All right.
fun.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
before we dive in, Nicole, I think you may have prepared some signs for us. Do you want to
Yeah.
tell everyone
Okay. So I
these?
thought to make it a bit interesting, and because I won't always know what Ali is going on about, if she gets a bit too into stuff, I've got kind of like now a bit of a way that I'm going to tell her whether I'm loving what she's talking about or whether I've completely lost the plot, I don't like it, or I have just no idea about what's going on. So if I love what she's talking about, I'm going to pull up my Travis Kelce image. I'm going to be like, we love him. We love this content. It's so good. We love Travis. And this is a Travis, friendly, loving kind of podcast. So if we don't like the content, if it's going over my head, if she's lost me, if I am just lost in the abyss, we're gonna bring up now Matt Healy, right? Is that
Maddie
who this
Healy.
is?
Yeah.
I was gonna grab Jake Gyllenhaal, and then Ali was like, no. She said everyone hates Matt Healy right now after the new
Yeah.
album. So
Yes,
there we
yes.
go. I thought that was a lovely photo of him looking interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know why you would date him in the first place. But anyway, too good for him.
Yeah.
I know which one I would pick. I mean, which one would you pick? Like, seriously. Like, it's, to me, it's obvious.
It's obvious. It's obvious.
Obvious. Who you would-
We're doing this just so everyone knows because both Nicole and I are just worried that I will go off on extreme tangents about Taylor Swift. So we were like, how can we keep Allie on track? Okay, how can we make it fun? So love this. And I'm hoping not to get too many Maddies. I'm hoping not to get too many Maddie
Yeah.
Healys.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to just get lots of Travis coming my way, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's right.
see.
Well, yeah, for everyone that's listening, like in preparation for this week, Ali's been sending me videos and that, and she was kind of talking about each individual album, and she's like, oh, so I'm going to talk about like this and that and like the 5 top songs of each album and go into depth with them. And I'm just like, whoa. Like, I'm just like, okay, that's going to be like way too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe talk about Reputation, maybe some of the newer albums. I'm like, maybe not too much about some of the smaller albums from a while back, but
Yeah.
we'll see how we go. I'm sure Ali has some awesome content. I'm very interested to see if I can be converted at the end of today.
To be a Swiftie. Yeah, that's the goal today. So, okay, before what we're going to do is we are going to go album by album, and some of the earlier albums we'll just move very fast through, right? I'm just going to be like, yep, 30 seconds on this album. But before we do that, I have a bit of like, I just wanted to give people like, why do I love Taylor Swift so much, right? Because Taylor Swift is a very polarizing figure. And I think that on this podcast, Nicole and I from the beginning have always wanted to take the philosophy that people should be able to love whatever they love. Right?
Yeah.
Like we should be able to gush about our book boyfriends and our spicy smut and our dragons and our fairies and our witches, and that's fine. And I think that romantasy books in particular are so popular right now because they hit at something like that's very human, and that in many cases they hit at themes that really speak to women specifically, right? They allow us to envision ourselves as powerful, as like worthy of love, as sexy. And the reason I love Taylor Swift is because I feel like she's been embodying that from the very beginning. From the age, the first episode album that she released, right? Taylor was talking to the female experience. Yes, it was about books or not books, boyfriends. It was about boyfriends and dating and heartbreak. But that's what teenage girls care about is the heartbreak.
So interesting, right? Because I'm a little bit older than you, and I have my earliest memories of first hearing Taylor Swift was I did nursing before I did the job that I do now. I did nursing for about 5 years, and I remember being in the ward and one of the nurses that I worked with being obsessed with this Taylor Swift. She had her album, and we like had like a little like radio whatever that you could put, I think it was CDs back in the day, and she literally played that. And they just had it going on repeat. And I was probably 23 at the time and probably a bit too cool for Taylor Swift. And apart from probably liking her one song of Love Story, I was a bit like, seriously, this is country music. I was just like, take me back to my dance music. Thank you very much. Like
Yeah.
but she was obsessed. Like there were just people that just fell in love with her from the get-go. Just, I don't know, she just did something to people that just changed the wires in their brains. And they were just
Yeah.
like, I love this music. And they never looked back. I think something's been really interesting for me, and a reason that I wanted to do today and explore it is obviously we do the romantasy genre, and I see that Rebecca Yarros loves Taylor Swift. I see that Sarah J Maas loves Taylor Swift. So I really want to understand Taylor's songs to understand how they've maybe influenced these writers or vice versa. And
Yeah.
it seems that they are a bit in parallel, that they are talking to something similar. And for me, it's like I know the general songs we've heard on the radio, but I hadn't delved deeper to the sort of understanding some of what these songs are about. So for me, given that it seems to be a really impacting part of these writers' journey, I sort of want to know more about Taylor Swift and her songs and what she's
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah. And as Taylor has matured as an artist and as a human being, the themes may still be the same. She still talks about heartbreak, but she talks about it in such a more mature way. I can think of two really powerful recent examples. The song Bigger Than the Whole Sky, which many
yeah,
women who have had a miscarriage felt like really spoke to them,
yes,
and the experience of going through that. And then recently on the most recent album, the song The Black Dog, so many women who are going through a divorce right now are saying that like that song just really encapsulates what it feels like to go through a divorce. So I think what's at the heart of it, of the heart of like love for Taylor Swift, is her ability to capture those raw emotions. And that's also what SJM and Rebecca Yarros do so
yes,
well, right? Like that's what takes
exactly.
their books to the next level, is that like emotionality and like that true feeling of
Mhm.
heartbreak, right? When we see that Zayden has been turned into a venom.
Oh,
And I
and we've
think that, like, Taylor is doing that too.
And we've got to admit, like going into just Taylor's real life for a moment, she's been through a lot of
She
heartbreak.
has been,
Like she
yes,
is,
we're
like,
gonna talk
and
about that.
sometimes, and look, in playing devil's advocate for a moment, I've sometimes wondered if there's a reason for that. Like if Taylor's, like obviously we generally love her, and she has this amazing group of support network around her of her friends and everything, but there has been a lot of breakups. So it's like either she has bad taste in men, they can't handle sort of the level of fame that she has, or there's just always something there that makes it a little bit challenging. But I'm so happy for her to feel like she has found this relationship with Travis that I just feel like is next level. And I feel like almost all those relationships were in preparation of finding the perfect guy. I truly believe that they're end game. Like I really do. I just think I don't know, I'm good at picking up on body language, and I just feel like both of them together, it just looks like they both feel like they've hit the
Yeah,
jackpot. He's just like,
totally,
wow, I'm
totally.
with Taylor Swift. This is the best thing ever. And she is like, I'm with this hunkosaurus right here who like
Yeah,
plays American football, and I'm loving him too. And I think even just the way he loves her would be so beautiful. I just even
yeah,
that little short reel she just released with like her new album, and she's just like cooking, and he just like comes in behind her and kisses her,
yeah.
and it's just such a little romantic moment. You're just
It
like,
is such a romantic
oh,
moment. Yeah, totally, totally. And in the words of Taylor Swift, I'm gonna quote her here, and it's the only time I'm gonna quote her, but this is my favorite quote from Taylor Swift. The worst kind of person is someone who makes you feel bad, dumb, or stupid for being excited about something.
yeah,
And I feel like that is something that you and I take to heart. Like that's something that all of our Bookstagram followers take to heart. So whether you like Taylor or not, we hope you'll listen today and um like
have fun.
don't yeah, have fun. That's what we're here to do, is have fun. Okay. So, for each album, we're going to talk about who she dated, what was the drama outside the music, because I think that's really important to understand.
Mhm.
What are the bookish songs? Like, what are the songs that I think will really resonate with romantasy audiences because they have a little bit of fantasy or, something like that? I'm
Yeah.
going to give you a romantasy series that I think kind of goes with the vibes of that
Okay.
album.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I'm going to tell you like all the songs on the album that aren't about breakups, because I constantly get so annoyed when people say like, oh, Taylor Swift only writes about breakups. That's not true. And then Nicole, you will tell me like, just so everyone knows, I made Nicole a playlist of homework, and it was 4.5 hours of music. And I was like, okay, got to pare that down. I got it down to 3.5 hours, which I think is really good. So if Nicole has like a favorite or something, she may not have a favorite from that album, but if she does, then you can tell us about it.
That's right. And look, what I have done is I have created a top 10 list. I listened to that, or I think I've listened to most of it, like on my Spotify. And then I have also just gone and listened to as much of her new album as I can. And also just then some of the songs that I know have resonated for me in the past, which were some of maybe her bigger tracks. And I really just sort of wanted to bring a top 10. And I guess what I bring to it, which I would say I'm a real vibes kind of listener to most music. It's about how it makes me feel. I probably haven't always listened to the lyrics, which I think is where Taylor really shines, is her lyrics. So, and I can tell even just by re-listening to certain tracks over and over, which I've been doing in the last week, you start to pick up the undercurrents. And I think that's maybe where the magic is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to release these playlists for you guys. So I'm going to release my 3.5 hour playlist. I'm also going to give you my top 20 songs, like all my top 20 songs. So you don't have a 3.5 hour playlist to listen to. Maybe we'll put out Nicole's top 10 as well. So we'll put all those on Spotify. We'll link them on the episode notes and everything like that. So if you want to really engage with us, you can. Okay, we're going to dive in. So first we start with the album is self-titled. It's called Taylor Swift. All the Swifties refer to it as Debut. Okay. So Debut comes out in 2006. We don't really know about her dating life because she was very young, and there's really no drama outside of the music. So we're going to move on very fast here. The song that I think book lovers would like is Our Song. That's kind of like the most popular song there. There's a great song called A Place in This World. That's not about a breakup, but the rest of them are about breakups. Her first album was a lot about breakups. And I picked
made that one. Do you know how old she was?
So it was in 2006. She would have been 16.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
16 when it came out, which means she was recording some of it probably at like 14, 15.
So she probably hadn't experienced a lot of heartbreak at that stage, hopefully.
But she wrote really good, like, you know, breakup songs. Yeah. So, and then the Romantasy series that I picked a YA series here because again, like this teeny bopper Taylor is not in, you need something that's like YA. So I picked the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. Have you read that series?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, that's cute. That's a cute choice. I have an interesting feeling about that.
It's got like a real enemies to lovers in it. If anyone's like really like that, like they are truly enemies and like actually hate each other and then they fall in love. But there's no spice because it's YA. So that's what I picked.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Very good. Very good. I can't say I picked up many songs from that one. Like I think you only shared a couple, and they probably didn't really resonate with me that much as a non-Taylor Swift listener. But she was 16 at the time, so let's not be too judgmental. She actually created music, which is pretty insane for a 16-year-old. So
yeah, and it's okay. You don't need to resonate with 16-year-old country music. I don't. Okay. So now we move on to the album Fearless, which came out in 2008 and won Album of the Year at the Grammys. That was her first Album of the Year. So she won Album of the Year at 18 years old. 18. Which is pretty impressive. That she, did that. She dated Joe Jonas. Her first high profile dating was Joe Jonas. And she also he broke up with her via a voicemail and she told Ellen DeGeneres. Okay, moving on.
Joe Jonas, seriously, I do not understand for the life of me why those boys have dated so many beautiful women, because it defies logic. They're not that good looking. They look short. No. Their music's not that great. I just don't understand it. But anyway, she was young. I mean, but
yeah, I never understood how Priyanka Chopra would end up with one of them. She is the epitome of gorgeous. And then you it's okay.
They are always batting above their league, I swear to God. But anyway,
Yeah,
maybe everyone else there,
totally,
maybe someone
totally.
can enlighten me on where the interest is with the Jonas Brothers, but I don't get it.
I don't get it.
They're
I don't get it either.
not my
You can
type.
love what you love, right? That's our philosophy. You can love
Course.
what you love. We just don't have to get it, and that's also fine. You don't have to get what we love.
Yeah.
So some bookish songs. There's Love Story, right? And You Belong With Me. Those are both pretty popular. Everyone kind of knows them. And the book series that I chose, what is the Plated Prisoner series.
Ooh,
So
spicy.
I picked the Plated Prisoner series one because like Fearless is all gold, which is the Plated Prisoner
Okay.
series. You know, Aaron's gold. But I also picked it because like that whole album is her kind of finding herself, I guess, which is what Aaron does in the series, you know? And I feel like the song Fearless, like I want to be fearless and not be afraid and like stand in my power. That's Aaron. That's our main character Aaron from that series.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
picked.
That's
There's a little bit
cute.
of drama. There's a little bit of
Okay. Well,
drama.
yeah.
The drama that starts here
Mhm.
is the original Kanye West comment.
Oh, yes. The You Belong 'cause didn't like okay, didn't You Belong With Me win the Grammy? And that was when he went up and was like, "Beyoncé had the best song of all time," and he like yeah,
Yeah, it was the VMAs, it wasn't the Grammys, but, like,
that's right,
that
okay.
doesn't matter to an Australian or really anyone. Um, yes,
Anyone.
it won, like, Video of the Year, and she, like, went to give her acceptance speech, and then he came up and was like, "Imma let you finish," or whatever. So that began their decades-long
All
feud.
began back then. Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, her song "Love Story" is like
Yeah,
it's
it's a Travis Kelce.
timeless. Like for like it's innocent, it's beautiful. I think there's something beautiful about that song because she was quite innocent when she sang it. It had that real
Yeah,
Romeo and Juliet vibe, and it it was really the epitome of young Taylor, I think. And I don't know. For me, it's still a song that I enjoy even to this day. And that's why I do think that yeah, it definitely needs to be called out. And there was definitely some great little tracks on that, even though I'd say it is definitely her younger era. But I think that she definitely had things that just resonate and stick with you. I wondered about with the book choice that you chose. I wonder if I would have picked Once Upon a Broken Heart. Or hang on, I'm trying to think. What was the first one called again?
Caraval.
No, not Caraval, but like, yeah,
Oh,
Jefferson
A Curse for
Evangeline.
True Love is maybe what
That's
it's
the final
called?
one. Once
Oh,
Upon a Broken Heart, I think, is the very
I
first
think
one.
that is the first
I'm
one.
trying
Yeah,
to remember
yeah, yeah.
now.
I know, it's hard. We read so many books. I think Once Upon a Broken Heart is the first one.
I think because it's so romantic, it's a YA, but it's very romantic. It's very
Yeah.
like I don't know that for me would have like because I'm thinking gold, but then I'm like, oh, but that's so spicy. I'm like, it feels a bit like you could head into Reputation era or something like
Yeah.
because I mean probably not the first book, but as you go further along, it gets very
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun.
Well, funny you should mention that because I did pick Once Upon a Broken Heart for the next album.
Oh well, there we go.
So I'll just give it up, which is Speak Now. People either love or hate Speak Now. I don't love it that much. It is very classically like fairy tales and castles, and it's all purple and sparkly, and so that's kind of why I picked Once Upon a Broken Heart because of the purple
Yeah.
vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where she dated John Mayer and Taylor Lautner.
Oh.
So this album has the song Dear John, where she's basically
Yeah.
just, like calling him out. And she was 19 and he was like 35 or something like that.
Far
Yeah.
out. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big age gap. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Not
that was
really
never gonna
cool.
go well, was it? Like,
No, no, no. And
dirtbag,
there
old
are
John
some great
Mayer.
songs about John Mayer.
I don't even know what John Mayer's doing nowadays. I don't think he's done anything very impressive. Like,
I think he still tours and, like, plays and stuff, but, like
well, she's just beaten him on just being, like, crazy successful and just
yeah,
leaving him in the dust. So good riddance to
good riddance, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, there's a song on Speak Now called "Innocent" about Kanye, and Kanye says that he, like, says to the freaking New York Times, which is crazy that they interviewed him at that time, but he says that it was shade masquerading as the high road. Um which is just very funny. So like that's when things really start to heat up.
But
The
like,
bookish song. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, talking of Kanye West, and I don't know, do you watch Kardashians at all? Are you
I loved Kardashians growing up. I don't watch it anymore, but like when I was in high school, like loved it. Watched it all the time.
Yeah. It's like something that I've like dabbled in from time to time. I watch some
Yeah.
seasons and then I sort of forget about it for a while. I mean, but
Yeah.
it's very, it's just when I'm really bored and I need something to do with my ironing,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But in that, you really get an indication of, Kanye. I mean, he's a very talented songwriter, obviously, but he has mental health issues. There's no doubt about it. And you just kind of saw the writing on the wall there. And I think a lot of this is him managing his mental illness. I mean, it's still very, very messy for him, but I think that
Yeah.
I think a lot of what Taylor's had to deal with there is probably Kanye, not treating his his mental illness the way that he probably needs to. So
Yeah. Well, and then we're going to get into the stuff with Kim K, but like it really kind of explodes when Kim Kardashian gets involved in the drama.
yes, oh,
So,
far out.
yeah. Yeah.
Drama.
So if you are interested in this album, the songs that I think will like resonate to like book girlies is a song called Sparks Fly, a song called Long Live. The Long Live song is probably the most bookish because it's like it says like I've had the time of my life fighting dragons with you. So it's a very like fairy tale castle-y thing. The song I Can See You, which is a vault track, and Castles Crumbling. So and I picked Once Upon a Broken Heart
I
as
mean,
the
for
book
me,
series.
I really don't know much about this album. I don't know any songs. I have no idea. So I'm just here going, yay! Like, yay for castles and purple sparkles.
Yeah, that's what we're moving pretty quickly through the beginning, but you have to have the beginning to lay. I had to lay the Kim Ye foundation. Okay, that's really because the Kim Ye drama is going to spark a lot as
Yes.
we
And at
continue
this
to talk
stage,
about things.
Kanye was not yet dating
They weren't
Kim
yet
Kardashian.
dating,
You know,
no, and like I think that he was still pretty like well respected and like
he was, yeah. Even though I think
like
we're
had
seeing
a
a
very
few
big kind of
outbursts
credibility and reputation.
exactly. I think we're seeing a few outbursts here and there, but they weren't extreme yet to the point that we're
Crazy,
probably seeing now.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, then we move into the Red era where she dates Jake Gyllenhaal, the other
Ah!
candidate for Maddie Healy. He was enemy number one of the Swiftie fandom for a very, very, very long time.
I wanted
Um,
I wanted Jake Gyllenhaal for this. I was gonna do Jake, and then Ali was like, "No, everyone's hating Matt Healy right now." But I felt like just as a non-Swiftie, I felt like I knew Jake Gyllenhaal had a lot of hate. Like,
yes, yeah. He was also much older than her. She was
mhm.
probably 21 and he was like 35 or 36, maybe early 30s or something. So big age gap once again. She also
Oh,
dated a Kennedy. She dated Connor Kennedy in this era.
wow.
Yeah,
God.
I know. Kind of crazy. So the drama really, I mean, there's a lot of drama around the breakup with Jake because of the song All Too Well, which is the song that is like the Swiftie song. It started as like this like normal song, right? Like a 3-minute song. But she says she like left her scarf at his house, which is like a metaphor. You can read into what that might be a metaphor for.
Right.
And like everyone like bullied Jake on the internet, being like, give her back her scarf. Like it, just really some crazy stuff with the fandom.
Yeah.
But also Kanye says again that he was pressured into apologizing to Swift and wishes he hadn't done it. So he continues to kind of talk about her. We've got some bookish songs, a song called Holy Ground and Starlight, and then the title track Red. I think it's a very like
Mhm.
loving
Mhm.
him with red. Like I think
Yeah.
that's a very, relates to romanticy.
Yeah.
And this is really where she starts to break out to pop culture. So this is where the song like 22 is, I Knew You Were Trouble. So, this is kind of like this isn't considered a pop album, but it's basically a pop album. Like
Yes.
yeah.
I've got to admit, I've never loved that song 22. I think when it came out, I was maybe 28, 29. and it was just so young and poppy, and it would just and our radio stations here in Australia would just play it all the time. And I just, when a song grates on you and it's just for you, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is just my opinion. I'm sure there's lots of Swifties out there that adore it. It's poppy, it's fun, it's light, but me as a serious music listener, I was just like, oh, this song again.
Yeah. Well, I had the opposite experience because I turned
We're
22
Yeah.
the year that 22 came out. Okay. And
Yeah.
it was
So
the
you were
best
like,
thing
this
ever.
is the jam.
Yeah. To go to bars on my birthday. I have this visceral memory. We went bar hopping, and at every single bar we asked them to play that song, and me and all my girlfriends dance and scream it. And so I had a great relationship to the song 22.
Oh my god. See, for me, my era was Hips Don't Lie by
Oh, I love it.
that was I was 18 going out, that was playing at all the clubs, and you just listen to that. Or I don't know if you guys knew Kylie Minogue, Can't Get You Out of My Head. That did take off in America. I think she's an Australian singer. She's done a lot in the UK, but she's not that big in the US. But that
Is
song
that
did
the one
take
that's
off.
I can't get you out of my
Yes,
head.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Yeah,
it, that's it. Yeah, that was my era. I just bought my first car, I just got my license, and I was playing that album, and I had my total Kylie Minogue was my Taylor Swift back in
Taylor
the
Swift.
day.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask, did the internet meme of the goat screaming the chorus of I Know Your Trouble, did that make its way to Australia as well?
oh god, no, actually that is one of my favorite of Taylor Swift
I
songs.
freaking
I
love it.
love that song. That is
Oh,
so that
really?
yes, yeah, I love
I
that song. That
actually
is
don't like that song. I found that song so annoying at the time.
yes.
And then when the goat meme came out, that made
Oh.
it funny to me. And I
Mhm.
still in my head to this day, all I hear in my head is the goat. Being like,
Yeah. It's obviously a very divisive album, that there's definitely a few songs on there that you either love
Yeah.
or you hate, and maybe not a
Yes.
lot of in between. I guess because she was transitioning into that pop era. But I wanted to give a Travis Kelce for the song All Too Well, because that is a freaking good song. That is a really good song. I will definitely give Taylor her dues. That for me, okay, I'm a vibes listener, and it's about, does it resonate with me in some way? Do I have to go back and listen to it again and again and again because it elicits an emotion? And for me, that song 100% does that. 100%.
And you're talking about the 10-minute version.
I am.
That's what I
Yes,
put on your
I
playlist,
am.
is the
I know.
10-minute
I didn't get to
version.
3 minutes and go, geez, I've had enough of this song. I
Yeah.
happily listen to the full 10 minutes. For
Yeah.
sure.
So the 10-minute version, just so people know, it came out with the re-record, which we'll talk about why she did that later. But the reason it's 10 minutes is because in an interview, people were talking about how much they love that song. And she was like, yeah, when I wrote that song, the original is 10 minutes. And then for years and years and years, fans were like, give us the 10-minute version. Give us the 10-minute version.
Come on, we want
And
all of
so
it.
she finally did. And
we're trying to
I
ask
actually
Sarah
think-
J Maas to give us the whole 1,200 pages of Hofas, and we're just please, we want to see the original.
Please. Maybe in 10 years she will.
I know. Probably once she's released the whole thing, then she'll be like, okay,
Yeah,
you
then
guys
she'll be
can
like,
have
here you go. This is what it was
now.
gonna be. Totally. And of course, I don't think that she actually wrote that version at that age, because that song is really good and there's some lyrics in there that I don't think she would have written at 20, but really good. Notable song that's not about breakups is a song called Ronan, which is about a little boy that she met who had cancer, that she met in the children's hospital, and she wrote a whole song about him, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, and it's just about childhood and really, really good. So I just want to call out, that she writes songs like that.
I love that she does things like that. I think that she uses sometimes her fame and that to release stuff that's really important. I don't know, even just the way she looks after some of her fans and that sometimes at her concerts and things. I think, yeah, she just seems like she's, for someone that's so ridiculously famous, she seems like she still cares and she makes an effort for people. And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. The series that I picked for this album is the Bridge Kingdom series.
Ooh.
Because it's sort of The Bridge Kingdom is a little spicy, but not really. Like it's like it could almost be classified as young adult. So that's kind of like Red. Like she's starting to get a little spicy, a little poppy, but
Mhm,
not
mhm.
fully.
Just starting,
Um,
little sprinkles.
yeah, and like I don't know, I felt like I Knew You Were Trouble is kind of works with those main characters. So that
Yeah,
is the series that I picked was Bridge
nice.
Kingdom.
Mhm,
Yeah.
love it, love
People are
it.
gonna have like strong opinions about the book series that I picked. They're gonna be like, "That's the wrong choice." But
That's
just
right,
doing my
people are
best to
welcome.
represent.
If you think that there was a better book choice for these albums, please share it. We're always happy to
Please
hear it.
do. Yes. Okay, now we go to my favorite album, 1989.
Ooh, yes.
1989 is also an album of the year winner for a
Mhm,
Grammy. 1989 is like my college anthem. It came out my senior year of college.
mhm.
The song Blank Space is what I would like get ready to for all of my like first dates. Cause I also did a lot of
Ooh,
dating
first dates.
in like my senior
Sally.
year of college. Not like, I just like, I had a lot of like, I would go on a date and it wouldn't go anywhere. And I would go on another date and it wouldn't go anywhere. And then like I really liked them, but they like didn't like me back. And
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift just like embodied that for me and like empowered me. And I would be like, you know what? You don't like me? You're just another blank space for me, right? Like, so that album was my album. I also this is not something I'm proud of, but I took up smoking cigarettes my senior year of college. I was just trying to be so cool.
Naughty,
And I would
naughty
like
Ellie.
sit yeah, I would sit I lived in this apartment, off-campus apartment, and I would sit on the balcony of my off-campus apartment, like smoke cigarettes and listen to the album. So 1989 is such a vibe for me.
It's so interesting that you talk about having all these first dates because I was the same until I met my husband. I hardly sort of dated anyone because as
Same.
soon as
Yeah.
I realized it wasn't right, I just broke it off straight away. I was not wasting any time. I cannot tell you how many times I'd start dating someone, I'd freak out and I'd break up with them like 24 hours later. And I was just, yeah. And same as you, it would either be that they didn't like me back and they wouldn't call, or I didn't like them back. And it was only once I met my other half that it was
Yeah.
just like fireworks. It was just
Same
like
for me.
really falling in love. And like, he even did the rule right where I met him at a 21st. And there was always this rule that like you'd meet them on the Saturday night and then they would call you. And Tuesday was like early, but like totally acceptable. Wednesday was the expected night they'd call you
What's
for
the
the
day
next
that they
date.
called?
Thursday
Yeah.
was a bit on the late side, but still acceptable. And if they hadn't called you by Friday, like do not date them. Like they're like just not good news. He
Yeah.
called me on the Monday. He called me on the Monday. And I was just like,
Oh! It's
I was
meant to
so excited.
be. The music video for Blank Space, there's like a scene where she's just like crying and the mascara is just like all down her face, like just like
Mhm.
dark black streaks from crying. And that to me, I was like, God, that was like me my whole senior year of college. Just like I wanted to date someone. I wanted like and like either they weren't a fit at all and I was like like I couldn't wait to get out of there, or I really liked them and they did not like me back. And there were so many of those.
My best friend at the time, she was just like, Nicole, you just have the worst luck with guys. Like I'd date these guys and there'd be some ridiculous reason that I couldn't continue dating them. Like one guy wore the same outfit to every date. Every date he'd wear the same outfit.
Oh my
And it
god.
was just like, okay, that's like, do you wash your clothes? Like, that's a bit weird. Had another guy where we went out for a drink and then he was like getting me to buy it. And it was just like a lemonade. And it was just like, okay, like you don't buy me a drink?
You're
Like,
not
it
gonna just buy me a
was
lemonade? Like,
um,
geez.
yeah, it was like a Sex in the City episode of just so many weird, just couldn't find a decent guy. Like, it was,
I feel like you needed 1989 in your
I
life to just
know.
really
But
help
I
you
remember my
navigate
friend
that.
telling me this advice, and it was so accurate. She said, every relationship you have that doesn't work out is working towards a relationship that's right. And
Yeah.
the moment you meet that person that's right for you, it's just going to make all these ones that weren't right disappear. Like, it's just like you're just going to go, thank God none of them worked out because now I'm with the right person. And
Yeah.
I so believe in that. And I believe in that for Taylor as well. So,
Yes. She'll get there. Speaking of relationships that didn't work out, this is when she dated Harry Styles. And
Mhm.
people were so into her and Harry Styles. He was younger than her, so she kinda, like she'd been dating these older men, and she
Yeah, she went the
flip-flopped,
other
and he
way.
was, like, 18 or something, and she was, like, 23 or 24, so
Wow.
interesting.
That's
This is
crazy.
also where she, like, explodes. So this is her, like, first pop album. She does the
Mhm.
1989 world tour. That's where she, like, brought out all of her, like, model friends all the time. Like, this is
Mhm.
basically her model era,
Mhm. Mhm.
On her
That's
tour, she
so
would, like, have surprise guests.
Yeah. So was there a bit of bad blood between her and Harry Styles when things finished, or did that one end a bit more amicably?
Okay, so we thought that it ended amicably because, like, he doesn't get terrible songs written about him.
Mm.
He has, like, the song "Style," which I love.
Mhm.
He has, like, the song "Wildest Dreams," which is, like, a really
Yes.
good
Oh, they're
song.
such good
So he
songs.
Yes, he doesn't have these, like, breakup songs.
Yeah.
And then she did the re-record, and she released the vault tracks, and then she threw some shade with those vault tracks.
Ooh.
So, it seems like he kinda just, like, ghosted her, basically, and to be fair, he was it seems like he was just a normal 18-year-old boy,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like,
he wasn't
okay,
ready to have a
totally
serious
could have done.
relationship, like
Yeah.
that's the thing, there's not really
Um,
in songs, you don't exactly have an opportunity to explain the whole situation, do you? To say,
right.
"Oh, well, he was only 18 and he was like, I need to, like, date a little bit before I settle down," you know?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, even though I will say even the vault songs, like, they threw shade, but they weren't like,
Shady shade.
I hate yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
weren't like an All Too Well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
She's
Wasn't
not like
like,
burying
"I
me in the
loathe your
grave, I'm
very
never gonna talk to
existence."
you
It was
again.
just like, "Maybe
Yeah,
we just
and
didn't work out."
they're still pretty close.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
okay, so the drama also heats up with Taylor Swift and Kanye in the 1989
Bloody
era.
Kanye. Like,
Bloody
Kanye's like
Kanye.
fucking Jack Barlow. Like, he's,
I know, he is fucking Black Jack Barlow. Jack fucking Barlow, Kanye
Yeah,
fucking West.
exactly.
Um, so he drops the song in 2016, the song "Famous," where he says a line that says, like, "I feel like Taylor and I might still have sex. I made that bitch famous." And
Mhm.
he puts out that song, and he also says that, like, Taylor was cool with it, that he, like, called and got her permission, she thought it was
Yes,
funny,
I
like,
remember this.
yeah, all of this is where I had to go fact check
And
myself,
he's
but I
like
was like,
he was either married to Kim at this stage, they were
they
at
were
least
dating.
yeah, they were at least
Yeah,
dating.
yeah, they were
She had to get
dating.
involved. I remember that.
Mhm. And then Taylor releases a statement saying, like, she never approved it. Um, and then shit, like, and then when she's like, she wins album of the year, and then she, like, throws shade at Kanye in her acceptance speech.
Mhm.
And then, like, the next week, Kanye is performing and he throws shade back at her, right? Like, there's just all this shade. And I, like, initially had all their different quotes in my outline, and I was like, people don't care. I'm gonna get too many Maddie Healy's from Nicole on this. So basically, the takeaway is, like, they're, like, throwing shade at each other back and forth,
Yeah,
okay? They're
yeah.
throwing shade at each other. And then shit really hits the fan because then Kardashian is on the cover of GQ magazine and has an interview where she just, like, goes off and says that there was a phone call that multiple, like, record label executives, like, heard and were, like, present for, and just, like, rants and rants about how awful Taylor is.
Mhm.
And that brings Kim into the fray. And then
Yes.
Kim calls Taylor a snake on Twitter with all these, like, snake emojis, which you may remember.
No, but, like,
And
drama. I feel like getting out my
drama,
popcorn.
yeah.
I'm just like I'm here
Yeah,
just, like, frothing. I'm just like, "What
yeah.
tell me. I love a bit of
And then
drama."
like, the internet just, like, proceeds to just, like, bully Taylor and, like, post snakes on all of her, like, her tweets and Instagram posts for, like, weeks and
So
weeks and weeks. Snakes, snakes, snakes. It's crazy.
so was there ever, like, proof of those phone call conversations? Because this is the thing, right? I'm like,
There
"Where's the proof?"
is.
Mm,
It's gonna drink your wine because things are gonna
mhm.
heat up.
Don't have popcorn, so I'm drinking wine instead. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
Tell me, I'm so fascinated
yeah.
to know."
And then Kanye releases the famous music video, which has, and this to me is like crossing a line. This is where I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. He has a naked wax figurine of Taylor in bed with him in the music video. And I just am like, that's really not
It's a
okay.
bit crass. To me, he was there saying, "I made her famous," I feel like it's the opposite. Like, he is
Yeah.
using her to maintain his own fame. Like,
Yeah.
look, fair enough, he's famous in his own right, but bringing it up like this, it's creating a lot of drama, and I felt like it benefited Kanye a lot more than Taylor needed to even get involved. She did not need that for her own fame. She was, like,
No.
absolutely fine without it. Everything
She had
that
just
happened
become
was because of Kanye. Like, at no time did Taylor start the drama. He was the one that got up at the
that started
VMAs.
it. Yeah.
He was like all she did was basically generally just defend herself. Like, and while I'm very interested to know was there proof and evidence of these things happening, I can't help wondering with Kim, and this is just like me not knowing the ins and outs yet, which I'm sure you're going to go to in a minute, but has Kanye been in her ear and he's been telling her this? And you know, if you've got a partner that's maybe not so great, they can be feeding you a lot of
Yes.
information. And if you're not fact checking it, you're there going, oh, well, yeah, she's horrible. He did this. He was completely within his right. Like, I bet Kim's opinions now are quite different.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk. Yeah. Um,
Watch this space.
it goes crazy. So then Kim posts a video, a recording of this supposed phone call between the two of them on her Snapchat. But then people on the internet quickly realize that it's been edited, that it's not real. So
Yeah.
she posts this like manipulated video. The net is that there was a phone call, but it was like an hour long, and like they like took snippets from a different part of the conversation to make it seem like Taylor had approved the song, but like she didn't. That wasn't how, like, the phone call was different, right? So it's been this like manipulated, edited video, and people
Yes.
on the internet realize that. But either way, like the Taylor, like, hate Taylor Swift party like trends on Twitter, and even though like it comes out that the call is fake, like people still like hate on her. Um and they're like continuously egged on by Kim K. Like every day for like months, Kim is posting about what
Yeah.
a snake Taylor is. And then Taylor just like completely disappears from the public eye for like several,
Yeah.
like over a year. People don't see her, they don't hear a word about her, they don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
Um, so that's 1989. There are some bookish songs.
Mm-hmm.
I think Out of the Woods is a very like bookish song. I think Wildest Dreams, I love Wildest Dreams.
Yeah.
Um,
Beautiful.
One of my top 5 Taylor Swift songs ever is on this album, and that's the song
Mm-hmm.
Wonderland,
Mm-hmm.
which was on your playlist.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's a very bookish song. I think the song I Know Places. So I just think that whole album is very like bookish. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Some non-breakup songs. We've got Welcome to New York. We've got Shake It Off. We've got Bad Blood. Bad Blood's about Katy Perry. So she's, you know,
Mhm.
she's beefing with everyone in this era.
I know. And I have to admit, as someone that was not a Taylor Swift fan, I was definitely questioning her. Because, you know, she's often given the appearance of the all-American girl next
Yeah.
door. She had this big, massive friendship group. You did start to wonder, is she the popular girl? Is she, you know, the
Yeah.
popular girl
Yeah.
at school is actually not very nice. And I did start to wonder. And obviously, with everything coming out, you started to question that. You started to say, well, you know, is she this nice girl that she's trying to give across, or is she maybe not so nice? As I said, she dated multiple guys at this point that hadn't worked out. You start to do, you know, the process of elimination of going, well, is it the guys or is it starting to be you? And also because I did sometimes have feelings about the fact that she did always write these songs about her exes. And it's kind of like, is that a nice thing to do? Like to air out your dirty laundry on a song. Like, I understand that like you've got emotions and you want to share them, but like from that thought, it was kind of like, well, is that, I don't know, does a nice person do that? Or are you kind of like, oh, I'm going to get revenge on you and I'm going to do this? So I sometimes had these mixed feelings, particularly at this time about, yeah, just the kind of person that she was. But I can only imagine, even in saying that though, I never wish ill upon anyone. I would never want anyone to be attacked or to be, you know, attacked for something. Even if they did it, I would think that they should still be able to say, look, I made a mistake. I was really silly. I'm really sorry. To be attacked like this would just be a horrible thing. And I definitely did not feel like what Kanye did was right. I think that what he was doing was extremely wrong. And to have Kim get involved too, I mean, yeah, I think that wasn't nice at all. So
Yeah, and I do also feel like the media like created a narrative
oh,
around her that
100%.
like she was, you know, this mean girl, you know, like I think a lot of those feelings that you maybe had at the time were feelings that the media sort of portrayed to you,
Encouraged.
encouraged. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you know, it's super interesting because like people hated her. This is really when the people did not like Taylor Swift in this moment. I'm happy to say I was not one of them.
Mhm.
You know, I've always stood by my girl, but she was really, really unpopular.
Yeah.
Um, the romantasy series I've chosen for this album, this era, is Crescent City. Because I think that, you know, 1989 is this first pop thing. It's very urban. It starts with like Welcome to New York. I just feel like that is kind of like the vibe of Crescent City. It's this urban fantasy.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I like that.
yeah. I feel like Bryce really encapsulates like, you know, this like girl who's on the top of the world and just like singing her heart out and like I don't know.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's a very kind of
Yeah.
1989 song.
Yeah, 100%.
Um okay. We don't hear from Taylor for 3 years. This is where we are.
3
Prior
years.
to this, she had been releasing albums every 2 years like clockwork. 2 years come by and nothing, no album.
Nothing.
No album. People are like, "Where's Taylor Swift?" Nobody sees her. So there's not even a single picture of her in the media.
That's crazy. I'm like,
And
I
then
didn't realize. I did not realize
yeah,
there was like, I feel like Taylor's always on my, always being
yeah.
played on my freaking
No,
radio.
she like totally disappeared. And then she posts on her Instagram one day. It's been nobody's heard from her. She posts a snake on her Instagram. And that's it. And that's all we get. And we're like, what? What is she doing? She's posting a snake. She's like reclaiming what Kim K, you know, called her a snake.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be a teaser for a new single, Look What You Made Me Do, which
Yeah.
then she releases the video for. And the whole thing is just like shade at Kanye. The
Yes.
song is like, Look What You Made Me Do. It's this like, you know, EDM, like
I love it. Love
electronic thing. Yeah,
it.
I love. And then like Reputation comes out in
Oh,
2017 and it's a vibe, okay?
it's so
Reputation is
good.
a vibe.
She goes darker and grittier in that album, and I love it. It's
Yes.
definitely, I love that she kind of went to that place.
Yeah. She dates Tom Hiddleston briefly, so people call it Hiddle Swift. And this is where
I love
a
that
great
relationship
bookish
so much.
boyfriend. This is where we get the like paparazzi photo of him like in the ocean wearing an I Heart Taylor Swift t-shirt. At like a 4th of July party at her
Oh my
Rhode Island
gosh.
beach house, which is just so like book coded if anything ever is. She also meets Joe Alwyn in this era. And a lot of people think of of Reputation as being, you know, like this diss album,
Hang on. Yes.
but the back half is all about love of Joe Alwyn.
Okay. All right. Hang on. I got to backtrack for a bit because I feel like
Okay.
I think you've missed a relationship that I want to talk about with
Are you
Calvin
talking about
Harris.
Calvin Harris?
Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry that I missed. I was just going to gloss
Because
over it because I moved forward and I was like,
one of my favorite songs of Taylor Swift's is one that she hasn't actually sung herself. Like it's on like my running playlist, and that
yeah,
is "This Is What You Came For," which
yeah,
is such a good song. I can't even believe she didn't. I can't even believe it's Rihanna that sings it because it doesn't even sound like Rihanna in the song. But like Calvin Harris and Taylor were a vibe. Like
yeah.
they were music royalty for a little while. And all
They
right, just
dated
tell
for
me
like
about
over
it.
a year. Yeah, they
Yeah.
dated for over a year.
So was that during that quiet era for her? Like, was that during that time
Mhm.
that she was like MIA?
It was part of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was part of it. And in fact, like he kind of
Hang on.
like said like, oh, she's maybe going to go quiet for a little while or something. But he
Mhm.
also did some shady stuff at the end of their relationship, like was talking shit on her, like saying things in
Because
interviews that wasn't true.
my impression, and I'm curious what you think, because my impression at that time was that she cheated on him. Like that was the one
Well,
relationship that I thought that she like hooked up. I can't remember if it was Tom
well,
Hiddleston or someone else, but
we find out as Swifties, we suppose that from a song that we get on Midnights that she does cheat on him. We've kind of like figured that out. Oh, and through the song Getaway Car as well.
Yeah.
So we kind of suspected it in Getaway Car, and then it kind of really gets confirmed for us on Midnight. So she does cheat on Calvin Harris with Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, it's Tom Hiddleston. Like, really? I don't blame her. I would too. Like,
yeah.
Tom Hiddleston came to my door, I'd be like, yeah, okay. See
and
Calvin.
apparently they like, I think they like met at the Met Gala and like danced and like, and that's kind of how she like cheated on him.
Because I don't know what it is about like Tom Hiddleston. Like, on paper, he shouldn't be my type. But he is. Like, have you seen The Night Manager?
Yeah.
Have you watched The Night Manager? He is so hot on The Night Manager. I don't know.
Yeah.
He just has this vibe that he just emulates that's just attractive. I was so into their relationship. I actually loved because at that time she came to Australia because he was filming Loki, I think, or one of the Thor movies. And they were filming on the Gold Coast, which is up in Queensland, the top of Australia for people that don't know. Anyway, the Gold Coast is somewhere that I travel really often. And I was straight away, I said, I bet they will stay at this particular hotel because that has got to be the best hotel, you know, in the Gold Coast. And lo and behold, that is exactly where she stayed. And it's like, and he ended up like, I always go to a cafe there. There's this particular cafe called No Name Lane, which like you always see famous people around there because it has really, really good coffee. And it was just below that hotel. And that he was like, there were photographs of him sitting around there, like just like on the laneway, just like getting coffee and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, I've been there. He's sitting on a chair that I have sat on. Like, the closest I'm going to get to Tom Hiddleston.
That's really funny. Yeah. So they did, there was a little tiny relationship between the two of them. The song Getaway Car is about him on Reputation, but really Reputation is kind of about like Kim and Kanye, and then the back half is like all of her love songs about Joe Alwyn. So the Kimye feud continues because Taylor reclaims the snake and uses that image like all over this album. In fact, her Reputation stadium tour is at the time became the highest grossing tour ever. She's now beat it with the Eras tour. And it had a like 60-foot snake like that she floated in on. So like talk about revenge and talk about like, you know, coming back for so like if that is not alien coded, I don't know what else is, right? Like taking your enemies and just doing that. There's a quote from Taylor that says, I can't tell you how hard I had to keep from laughing every time my 63-foot inflatable cobra named Karen appeared on stage in front of 60,000 screaming fans. And that is how she answered the question, are you still like feuding with Kim and Kanye? That's how she answered that. So I was just like, what a legend.
Yeah.
What a legend.
I love that. It's the perfect way to deal with it. To just own it and just be like, whatever.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want. I know the truth. Like, you're not getting through to me. I love it.
And I want to tell you a little bit about a theory because it could become important in the next. Okay. And we as book girlies love to theorize. So like I said, she'd be releasing albums every 2 years. She doesn't. She releases Reputation 3 years later. And then there's also a music video where on a wall, like all of her album names have been graffitied. But then there's also the word karma. And so people theorize that there was an album that she was going to release 2 years after 1989, but everything happened with Kim and Kanye. And so she scrapped that album and did Reputation instead. And so this is like the karma theory, right? That there's this hidden album, this missing album. Ooh. And everyone thinks now the theory is that when she releases the re-record, she will then release the Karma album as well. So that's the theory. Yeah, that people have. Some of the bookish songs here are King of My Heart, Dress, Getaway Car, Don't Blame Me. You know, there's a ton of songs that aren't about breakups here because a lot of it is about revenge. And the book series that I selected was Throne of Glass because I just feel like
you said Aylin vibes, 100%. Yeah.
Well, and this album starts out very angry, and it starts out like, I'm going to get you back. Like, I'm going to get my revenge. And then it turns into the love songs. And that is just like Aylin's whole journey.
Yeah, oh, it's so true. So true.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to give this one a Travis Kelce
It's Travis
because
Kelce.
I actually want to go and really thoroughly listen to her Reputation album. I feel
I think you
like
should.
the little bits that I've heard, I feel like that's her best album. I always think that artists make their best work when they're going through really challenging times. It's almost when they reinvent themselves and they create darker, grittier work, and it's actually amazing. And I love that. And I think that that's something definitely Taylor did with Reputation. I mean, sometimes some of my feedback to Taylor songs, a lot of them are very light, like romancy, love story kind of songs. Sometimes I want something grittier, and I like that she did that with Reputation. I almost just still wanted to go even more down that track and be like, keep going with that really gritty stuff because I love that.
Yeah, I know. It's what's crazy is this album is not well received critically. Like people when it comes out, people are like, it's not very good. People don't like it. At the time, there were tons of articles like, has Taylor Swift lost her edge? Like, does she, like, she's not a good artist anymore? Which is wild because it's like an amazing album. It's like so good. It's one of my, it's not like, I still like 1989 more just because of the nostalgia. But for me, from a music perspective, it's one of my favorites. Like,
Yes.
it may be my favorite, like, musically.
Yes. Well, I'd be
So
really
it's very good.
interested to find out for other artists, and I'm going to point out like George Michael, Madonna, some of those artists where they took a really dark turn with their music, and they had this album that where they completely changed the genre of their style of music. Like George Michael, for anyone, like he had all this poppy sort of music. And then I think it was around the time that he came out about his sexuality, and then he released this absolutely insane album, and it was darker, grittier. He just went to this whole new place, and it is like one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, I'm not this like massive George Michael fan, but the way he changed his music, I love that. I think once someone's reputation does get impacted by,
Yeah.
that they sometimes go, well, I've got nothing to lose now. And they just explore all those feelings and emotions, and some amazing music comes out of it. Madonna did something similar as well. I mean, Madonna has reinvented herself about 1,000 times, but there was a time where she really transitioned her music from this really kind of poppy sort of stuff into this really kind of dark, just different kind of style. And they might not be as well critically acclaimed at the time, but in the future, they look back and they're like, wow, that music was just like, they're taking no prisoners. They're just going for it.
Yeah. And that's how Reputation is looked at now from men, both the fan base as well as like critics. Like everyone is like, wow, we got that wrong. It was so good.
Yeah.
So it's great. I think you should definitely like, to me, if you are not a Taylor Swift fan, but you're like, where do I enter? How do I get into the fan base? Like, how do I get into her music? I really recommend starting with Reputation because I think it's going to feel more modern to you. It's going to feel, there's a lot more really deep, powerful emotions that are more raw as opposed to just like you said, like sparkly, glittery, like love. And then you can kind of explore from there. But I really think Reputation is where you start.
100%. I agree with that. I think that's really accurate.
Yeah. So 2019, 2 years later, Lover comes out. Taylor is still madly in love, or so we think, with Joe Alwyn. That's a deep cut, but so she's still dating Joe Alwyn, and they are incredibly private. People don't know.
Yeah.
She's not really like, even during the Reputation era, she's not really out and about. People like, she's at her
Really bizarre to me.
tour, but that's it. Like, they don't see them. They're not photographed together. They are very private. You don't see her outside of her like pre-planned events.
Yeah.
So it's
I felt
interesting.
like her whole relationship with Joe was really weird. Like the whole fact that they kept it so private. Yeah, look at you with the eyebrows. You're just like, I don't know. I just seemed like controlling almost. It seemed almost controlling that he was like, I don't know, just it was so private. The amount of effort you would have to go to do that.
Well, the amount of effort you'd have to go to be Taylor Swift and do that.
Exactly.
And now I'll just kind of hint at this. We'll just get to it. Like, now there are a lot of songs coming out on the Tortured Poets department that are maybe calling into question that exact kind of thing. Was it really a healthy relationship? Because there's a lot of stuff that kind of mentions how he didn't really maybe give it his all and like really demanded a lot of her. And There's like a line that's like, something that was my birthright became foreign. Like, you know, imagine taking somebody who has that star power of Taylor Swift. Like, not just anybody can become Taylor Swift, and like demanding that they stay private.
Exactly, exactly. That's not
You know?
supporting someone, that's actually squashing them down. Like, he's a total
Mhm.
Tamlin. I'm sorry, but he's a total Tamlin, and
He is a Tamlin.
whereas he is, because, like, he's telling her, "No, you have to stay private. You don't release our relationship. Like, minimize how much you put yourself out there because this is impacting me. Like, this is my life and it's impacting my little happy place." Whereas, like, when you compare it now to Travis, and I'm sure for Taylor, her light bulbs would be just going, "Oh, this is what a good relationship looks like." Where
Yeah.
Travis is confident enough to say, like, you go out there and you be the best version of you, and I'm just going to 100% love you and support you for everything that you do because I think you're amazing. Like, Travis is basically, Resand, and yeah, Joe is freaking
Yeah.
Tamlin.
Like Joe, if people asked Joe about their relationship in interviews, he would like walk out of the interview. Be like, "We keep it private. You don't ask me about that."
Sorry, that's
Travis is
a
like, "Yeah,
wanker
you know what?
move.
Ask me the Taylor questions and then we'll all move on and we can talk about other things." It's like I
Exactly.
feel like their relationship is so much more like real and acknowledging like
Yeah.
who they both are, right? They're
Yeah.
both these massive superstars. Of course people are going to
Exactly,
ask about it.
exactly. And often when you answer those questions, you often, like, settle people down anyway, and Travis has always been, like, really lovely, and he's always been quite respectful in how he sort of answered things. He has answered some questions. He doesn't go into a lot of detail, obviously, like, he keeps an
No.
element private, but he'll give people little bits and pieces that are really cute, and we're just all there frothing for those little
Yeah.
breadcrumbs. But that's like, and then we're just happy for them. Like, we're just like, we love love. We're obviously romantic readers. We love love. So we
Yeah.
love to see them happy. And as I say, for me, it looks like a really healthy relationship compared to what she was in with Joe, which felt like she was having to try and pretend to be someone else and was being forced to, like, not grow in who she was as a person and her career and things like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the Lover album, there's not much to talk about in terms of her dating life because it's Joe. Though, you know, there is really a lot to talk about there. The drama with Kim Ye is kind of died down, but at this point, like Taylor's kind of back on top, and Kim and Kanye are now like trying to be like, "Oh yeah, we're cool with Taylor," and Taylor is just like not having it. Like
yeah.
Taylor's like she just like doesn't even acknowledge them, which
Mhm.
is great. This is really where some of the drama with her that leads to the re-recording begins. So Lover's the first album outside of her original record label, Big Machine, where so she wanted to own her masters. She asked Big Machine if she could own them, and the only deal they would give her was if she recorded a new album. For every new album she recorded with them, they'd give her one of her old ones, which is basically just like a never-ending contract,
Yeah.
right? Because there's always another album to make to get the old stuff. And so she ended up leaving them, and she had to, and she's written a lot about that. But then in 2019, so she leaves them. She asks them for over a year if she can buy her masters to own her work, offers to buy them multiple times. They never say yes. And then in 2019, they sell Big Machine to Scooter Braun, who is Kanye's agent, and is basically the person who like was like encouraging Kim and Kanye to attack Taylor to help build Kanye's image. They don't tell her about the deal ahead of it happening. They sell it for they sell the entire Big Machine for only $300 million, which is a massive devaluing of Taylor's assets and less than what Taylor herself offered to pay.
I need to do both because I'm frothing over this information, and I'm like, that's so evil. Like, that is so
Yeah.
bad.
So evil.
Yeah.
It's so evil. It's so evil. It is awful. Taylor only finds out that this happens when the deal has been announced publicly. They don't even give her the courtesy of calling her ahead of time,
Can you imagine?
which is like, and she was not given the opportunity to bid for her masters, which is standard practice. If you're going to sell an artist masters, it's standard
Yeah.
practice to give that artist first bidding rights and then see if anyone outcompetes them. They don't give her that, and they sell it to Scooter Braun. Like, can you imagine the slap in the face that is?
Like, can you imagine? I feel like, I mean, I'm not obviously singer-songwriter or a writer in general, but I can imagine it would feel like your baby. Like, and I'm sure authors
Yeah.
feel the same way, you know, if you were, you know, with a particular publisher and they owned your books and then they just sold them to your like mortal enemy, that
Mortal
would
enemy.
be just evil, and not to give you an opportunity in, like, yeah, that's just, woo, that's nasty.
This is Tamlin making a deal with Highburn. Like,
Yes.
this is Tamlin making a deal with Highburn. This is like your old love,
My
you
God.
know, making a
Mm.
deal with your new enemy. Then Taylor wins Artist of the Decade at the VMAs, and she's gonna perform. And this new like Scooter Braun's holding company tells her she can't use any of her old music. So then she like has to go to the fans and be like, please, like, so her fans like make a riot and they like let her use her music, which is good. And this performance, if you're gonna go watch any like video of Taylor, go watch her VMAs Artist of the Decade performance, because it is so symbolic and metaphorical. It's so good. She wears like this shirt with like all of her albums on it. She's got like young girls dancing. She's sort of saying like, look at who I am, like look at how powerful I am, and I'm going to be relevant for like the present and the future because these little girls love me.
Yeah.
And she was freaking right. It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, I lost the plot a little bit there. So then in 2020, Scooter Braun then like less than a year later, he then sells her music again for way more than $300 million, makes this massive profit off of her deals, even though she hated Scooter Braun. In the like 9 months that he held her work, she asked multiple times, I would like to buy this. I would like to buy this. They would not even sit down at the negotiating table unless she signed an NDA saying she wouldn't speak negatively about him in the press. Like, are you like, it's seriously like so ridiculous. Okay.
It's just like the bullying. I'm just like,
Yeah.
he clearly has a small penis. Like,
Yeah. Clearly. Clearly.
like what? Jesus.
Yeah. But also part of that deal where he sells her music to a new company, to Shamrock Holdings, not only does he make a massive profit on it, but then the deal itself says that he gets royalties from her music for like 10 more years after that. So like he is going to continue to profit off of her art. And so she comes out in the midst of this deal closing and is like, I'm going to re-record my music. I'm going to devalue this. He tells Sorry, go ahead. I'm like getting this like always wakes me up.
It feels dirty to have someone
It's
treat
so
you like
dirty.
that and then be like, I'm gonna make so much money off your music. That, and like
Off
you
your
can't do
emotions, you know, your life.
anything about it. Like, to not have any kind of respect. Like, it's one thing if he'd said, oh, I sat at the negotiating table and we couldn't come to an agreement. That would be one thing. But to kind of find out that he didn't even try. Like, he just was like, nope, I don't like you and I'm not going to have anything to do with you. Like, even
You
if
have
you
to
don't like
agree to
someone,
never say anything bad about me ever again for me to even sit down at the
like,
negotiating table
I
with
don't know.
you.
I just believe in a moral code. And even if you don't like someone, you should still be like, this is the right thing to do. Like, and I'm still making a lot of money off this if I go and, you know, like negotiate with her. Even if he just put an exorbitant amount of money onto like how much he wanted for the songs, at least he had attempted to make a change. But anyway, sorry, you go on about what was going next.
So then he tells investors of his company and the new company, he says like he like reassures them that Taylor is bluffing, that she would re-record, and that even if she did re-record, it would never work. And he has all these reasons why. So he basically is telling investors, and he's now being investigated. Like he's under like the trade commission, like he's in trouble for this, you know, because it's not fair business dealing. But it's also just like so like, you know, someone threatens to like use their power against you and be like, no, she can't do that. So it's just it's very sweet that
And what we've got to know
this.
as well, and this is something that Taylor has done really well, is that there are a lot of artists out there that are nowhere near the size of Taylor. And these industries are so horrible generally to smaller artists because they're the ones they can really take advantage of. Like Taylor has a huge calling. She can re-record. She has this kind of power. There are other smaller artists out there that don't have that kind of power. They've got to be with Spotify. They've just got to sign whatever contract. They've got to hand their music over. And if they're they don't get any say in it, and they're not big enough to make those changes. You know, we need people like Taylor who have the power and the fandom behind them to encourage change, because it's not just going to help her, it's also going to help the other artists that are coming up in the future.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't even bring this up, but at one point through all of this, she actually pulled all her music off of Spotify
Mm,
because of what they paid artists for streams. As kind of streaming was picking up and we were trying to figure out how do artists get paid for streams, she pulled her music down and only put it back up when they agreed to pay all artists like a fair rate. Artists like Olivia Rodrigo now own their own masters, because she highlighted that like to the general public. So she's done a lot of really good work for artists and cares a lot about artists owning their work.
yeah.
So just, we're going to close the Lover era. There's a lot of kind of drama around it. I personally find the album itself like a bit meh. Like it's good. There's some good songs on there. The bookish songs I think are Lover, The Archer, which is very fantasy-ish. I really love this song called False God and a song called Daylight. So those are
Mhm.
kind of the bookish songs. Any songs that from Lover that have permeated into your
Oh, hang on, let me have a look. I think it didn't have a huge amount that, yeah, so like in 1989, that was awesome. Probably Cruel Summer. Cruel Summer would
Oh yeah,
probably
Cruel
be,
Summer is amazing. Yeah.
that's an amazing song. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't look, obviously, I haven't listened to the entire album, only
Yeah.
bits and
Yeah.
pieces,
Yeah.
but that was probably the only song for me that really kind of stood out. So,
Stood out. Yeah. Cruel Summer, I really like a song called The Man. There's a lot of songs on this album that aren't about breakups. You've got The Man, Soon You'll Get Better, You Need to Calm Down, It's Nice to Have a Friend, lots of
also coming
that.
from
And
an
then
era too that, let's be honest, often happy relationships don't equal amazing songwriting. That's just generally
yeah.
been a rule for most artists. She was obviously reasonably happy in this phase, or so we think, and you don't always make like amazing music at those times.
Yeah. The Romantasy series that I picked though is Akatar because I do
Mhm.
feel like Akatar has that very like like lover kind of
Yeah.
romantic vibe
Mhm.
to it. Plus I love like this is the era where all the stuff with her masters is happening and I just feel like that's very like
Yep. Well, I've
coded
just
to
outlined
kind of
now that I feel like Joe is Tamlin, so I feel like that just justifies it
yeah.
right there as well.
And
So,
Scooter Braun is also Tamlin. Scooter Braun is
yes,
also
yes,
Tamlin.
and Highburn, and
Joe
yeah.
and Scooter Braun, you're Tamlin.
Mhm, mhm.
Um So now then basically 2020 like and that's when Taylor like she just takes off, right? You get Folklore in 2020, which in April of 2020, which she recorded in the pandemic in her house by herself collaborating over the internet, which is just like amazing. That's in
Mhm.
April. Then in December she releases Evermore of the same year, right? It's like crazy. And then in like April of 2021, she releases the Fearless re-record. So it's just like boom, boom, boom. This is where it starts like the era of like every 6 months you're getting something from her.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, what changed? Because I mean, look, Taylor's always been big, but it feels like in the last couple of years, she's just gone like it's just catapulted like off.
Yeah.
What
I think
changed?
one thing that changed is she got away from Big Machine, who
Yeah.
wanted things to be very like standard recording artists. You release, you have your single, you do the music video, then you release. So she kind of got out of that deal away from them. I think the pandemic also sort of like just changed up her life, right? And any sort of change in people's lives just produces art.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the pandemic also kind of showed people that there are new ways to like do things. That
Yes.
like you can just randomly drop an album and people are still going to listen to it, right?
Yeah.
And she had that power with her new record label, Columbia Records. Like she literally told the story that she just called them up like 3 days before she was going to drop it. And she was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm dropping an album." And they were like, "Cool."
Yeah,
Like
yeah, they were just
and
like,
they're like, "Okay,
"Awesome."
it's going to make us money, right?" Like fine with us.
Yeah. We'll just take our
So
commission, all good.
yeah, yeah. Like, who's gonna tell Taylor Swift she can't drop an album?
Exactly.
Um, so it's like crazy that she does this. All the drama continues to be around her masters. So there's not really any other drama.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, there are a lot of bookish songs. So there's like Cardigan, My Tears Ricochet, August, Invisible String. For folklore, the romantasy series that I chose was Discovery of Witches.
Okay.
which I don't know if
Read
I don't
that.
know if I don't think you've read that. Yeah.
Read
It's kind
that.
of like a more it's like an older series.
Mhm.
And it's like came out way before like people
Wait.
even talked
No, no,
about
no,
there
no,
being
wait.
romance.
Hang on. Is that the one that was turned into a TV show with,
Mhm,
Teresa?
mhm.
No, I've read the first book, but it was
Okay.
very actually, I have to be honest, it did not finish for me. I'd
It
watched
got
the TV
better
show.
in the second and third books.
Yeah, well, I watched the series. I love the series, and then I read it, but I think I kinda got to the end, it was just kinda dragging on, and and
Yeah.
I guess because 'cause I'd already watched the TV series, I was like, "Ah, I know what happens," and I just got distracted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why, it just, like, folklore just feels, like, very like that, like, academic-y, I guess, and that whole series is, like, set in,
Yeah.
like with, like, a college professor or whatever, so
Yep. Mhm.
and then, Evermore is, like, my favorite of the recent albums, so, like,
Mhm.
1989 is my, like, classic favorite, recent as Evermore, it has my favorite song my number 1 favorite Taylor Swift song of all time, which is Ivy, which
Mhm.
I am convinced is about the book Akamath. I
Mhm.
made a 5-part series of it on my Instagram, so you can go look for that if you're interested. But it is just, like, so fantasy coded. Like, it's about, like, how there's this, like, relationship and, like, the ivy is, like, growing all over her house, and her house is her body, and it's just, like, I love this book or this song. I could talk about it forever and
I
ever.
I I struggled with this song, like, I watched it 'cause I knew that you'd spoken a lot about it, and I'm just
Like,
sort of listening to it going, "I don't really get it."
I
Like, I'm
don't get
like,
it.
I'm
That's
not really
okay.
feeling the vibes, like, it just because there are a few songs, like, there are a few songs for me that Taylor sings, it's probably the words are probably what matters, and I probably haven't listened to them enough to pick up the words and the real undercurrents, but sometimes they feel a bit the same for me, and I'm just like, a lot of these songs sound very similar. Like, I
Yeah,
love it when she
yeah,
mixes it up and it's a little bit different, and I don't know, maybe I need something that's a bit more spicy that kinda, like, grabs my attention more. If they just kind of are very, say, just kind of romantic and stuff, I just kinda get I don't know, I think I just switch off, my brain switches off and I don't, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
will go back and I will
Well,
try again to see if I can find some love for
it is
Ivy.
tough because, like, Aaron Dessner produces most of those both of those albums, and he's from The National, and they have a very specific style, like, it is this, like, very earthy, like, ethereal kind of, like, music in the background, and it is really easy for it to all blend together,
Yeah.
so you have to kind of find the pieces and, like, once you pick up on the, like, musicality stuff, like the time signature changes and some of the stuff she's doing with the melody and, like, then you start to really appreciate it, but again, like, you're not gonna get that that takes that takes some
You're not
intense
gonna get
listening.
that when you're doing your lunchtime jog and you're
Yeah,
just
right.
listening to your Taylor Swift that Ellie gave you, and,
Yeah,
your brain's only half functioning anyway because 'cause you're just trying to get
yeah.
oxygen, so
Yeah, and that's also fine, right? Like, there are there are songs for all of us, and that is not those are not the albums I would pick to run. Evermore, I also so for Evermore, I picked the Romantasy series from Blood and Ash,
Ooh.
by Jennifer Armentrout, because Evermore is a lot darker. It's like that folksy, but, like, darker, which is how I sort of feel about Evermore. It's interesting, the 2 series that have vampires are the Folklore and Evermore. I don't know what it is about those 2 albums that, like, gives me vampire vibes, but, like, I
Yeah,
guess they do.
interesting.
Um,
Maybe because the
yeah,
airiness, the kind of, like, airy, kinda haunting almost feel that some of those
yeah,
albums have, maybe?
maybe that's what gives yeah, some kind of vampire vibes. So, we're almost there, we're almost there.
Okay.
Then in 2021, Taylor starts her re-records. She starts with Fearless. She provides vault tracks that are songs she wrote in the era, but that she didn't make into the album.
Mhm.
And that is like people love the vaults. And so if you ever see a song that's like
From the
Fearless,
vault.
Taylor's version, or well, so if it says Taylor's version, that means it's the re-record and she now owns it. So we
Mhm.
always listen to Taylor's version.
Of
And then
course.
if it's from the vault, it's something that she like wrote in that era but didn't put on the original album.
So when she did the re-records, did she have to change certain aspects of the song for it to be Taylor's version?
So nothing about the lyrics or the melody has to change. So she owns that. So it's kind of like think about owning the song copyright is owning the lyrics and the melody. Owning the production copyright is owning like how it's produced, like all the different things you hear underneath it. So she does have to tweak them just enough. And it's a pretty interesting like musical challenge to tweak them enough that she's not triggering copyright laws, but not so much that they sound totally different.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not an easy thing, and she's done a really good job of it.
Now I feel
Well,
like
it's not just her,
listening to
but her
like
producers.
something side by side and hearing the difference. Like,
Yeah,
it'd be
I
interesting.
do that when there are re-releases because I'm insane. But yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. And you know what? The re-records work for the most part. They're out streaming her original stuff like 3-1, 4-1.
Yeah, I
So
have to
she
admit,
has
I
effectively
see
some
Taylor's
value.
version and I just click on that one. I just don't even think
Mhm.
about it. I just do it because
Yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah. So she won the battle, right? Like they don't make as much money on her anymore.
No.
Okay, so then Midnights comes out in 2022. And this wins album of the year as well. And this makes her the artist with the most album of the year wins ever. She was tied for
Wow.
3 with like Frank Sinatra, Billy Joel, and one other person. And now she has 4, so she's won the most. She's still dating Joe Alwyn, or is she? The timeline of when they broke up is very interesting for us.
Mm.
People are really criticizing her for making money and being a smart businesswoman in this era. And like, you know, you can say a lot of things about capitalism and making money, but at the end of the day, like women should get to participate in making money in the same way that men should. And so people really criticize her for that. And they're like, she should be more like altruistic and blah, blah, blah. She shouldn't charge for her music or whatever. And it's like, you guys would never say that about a guy. Like, let her make her money,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. Look, it's hard. I I appreciate artists that try to offer some cheaper options to their audience. Like, I won't lie that her Eras tour is really expensive. Like, it's expensive just to get a ticket.
Well,
Like,
but that's because of the secondary market. That's not
yeah,
she had tickets that were $69.
yeah.
She offered affordable tickets. The issue is scalpers bought them all up and then sold them for exorbitant
An
amounts.
absolute yeah, yeah. I think there's certain laws in Australia about scalpers, so we really don't have that so much. I mean, our main issue was just that there were so many people wanting to go to a concert
That
that it was
wanted them.
literally impossible. Like it was like it basically was just pulling your name out of a hat. If you were lucky,
Yeah,
you got a ticket. I think people who were really obsessed maybe got their whole like group of fans together to be like, right, if
yeah.
anyone gets tickets, like we get them for each other.
Yeah.
But what I do love though is that I know that first of all she makes it. I mean, everyone who went, I didn't get to go to the Eras tour. I didn't get tickets. I tried, but I couldn't get them. You know, everyone said like it's such an interactive experience, like the wristbands or something. They're like light up or whatever. And
Mhm.
you know, I love that her dad would go around, and if he'd sort of find, he'd just give out like VIP tickets to just people. Like I love that stuff, and I love
Yeah.
that. I think
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran's done it a lot, and Taylor as well. I've heard people say that Taylor has sometimes even put up a big screen outside the stadium so that
She
people
does.
can
Yeah.
still just come and interact if they want to. I love that, where because I do think about all the little fans out there that cannot even afford to buy a single ticket, and they still want to come, and they just want the opportunity to have
Mhm.
this experience. And you know, I love artists trying to make an effort for them. I have a lot of respect for that. I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything wrong with making money. Like, I think that she's working really hard. She releases a ton of music. I'm sure that she focuses on giving back where she can.
She
Um,
does. She
you know,
does.
and and yeah, I mean, I'm just all about equality. Like, everyone should be
Yeah.
able to, if you work hard enough, you should absolutely, reap the rewards. And as I say, making that effort for your fans that can't always afford everything, I think is really important as well. But I do think Taylor does make an effort there too.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay, so bookish songs on Midnights. I picked Midnight Rain. I don't really actually think it's that bookish, but so many people on Bookstagram think that that is like so Feyre coded. Like everyone on the internet thinks that
Okay,
Midnight Rain is Feyre coded
check it
because
out.
the lyric is like he was sunshine, I was midnight rain. Like that's totally like
Okay.
Tamlin and Feyre.
Mhm,
So
mhm, mhm.
Vigilante shit, which I love. Mastermind, Glitch, and then there's a song called Dear Reader, which is really
Yeah.
good. The romantasy series that I picked for Midnights is
Mhm.
Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. because
Ooh.
it's like there's a lot of like even at the time when Midnights came out, people were like, "Are her and Joe okay?" Like, there's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of like the song Bejeweled, like, don't forget like who I am, like I'm amazing, like Violet has
Mhm.
to do that with Zayden. Like, I don't know, I just feel like there's a lot of like romantic tension in the album itself.
Yeah.
So, and that really to me tracks with like Violet and Zayden's relationship. So that's what I picked. That was like the one that I was like, oh, Midnights is is the Empyrean series.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also we know that Rebecca Yarros did release recently, like she's released a lot of songs that have been inspiring her writing,
Yeah.
and she had vigilante shit
Yeah.
as a big, like, it seems to say a lot about the next book, about Onyx
Yeah.
Storm. And I think, yeah, she obviously gets a lot of inspiration from Taylor. So I love yeah, I cannot wait for that book. I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And then she releases a song called You're Losing Me. That
Mhm.
basically is when fans think they really broke up, even though like it didn't announce for several more months. They're like, oh, she
Mhm.
wouldn't have released that song if her and Joe were still together.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Eras tour starts in early 2023.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
This changes everything. This changes the game for Taylor. Kim K is desperately trying to pretend like everything is cool, and she's like posting videos of her daughter like singing Taylor Swift songs. In April of 2023, it's announced that Taylor and Joe broke up. Shortly
Yep.
after, she's seen hanging out with Maddie Healy. There's a lot of controversy around Maddie Healy.
What's
And
the
it's sort of
controversy?
well, he is kind of like a very controversial figure. He kind of has that ethos of like, I'm going to say stuff to make people mad, to make them
Oh, yeah, yeah.
realize like how, he's a true like rock star,
Yeah,
like
yeah, he's
I'm
like,
going to like
gives
say
the
edgy
rain.
things and
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So he says a lot of edgy things. There are definitely some stories about him that are honestly like I find offensive, like things that he said. There are other things that like he said that people found offensive that I didn't. So, he's just a controversial guy. It sort of appears like they only are really vibing for like a month or so.
Yeah.
But after this newest release, people are really questioning that. They're sort of saying like, maybe the Maddie Healy relationship was like longer, or like maybe her and Joe had periods where they were like broken up and she was with Maddie. Like seems like maybe they had like a situationship for a long time. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But they break
Mhm.
up. Okay.
Okay.
Travis Kelsey attends a show in Kansas City. And afterwards, he says on his podcast that he's really upset because he had made a friendship bracelet with his number on it, and he was going to give it to her, but he didn't get to meet her. So he was really sad that he didn't get to give her his number. Okay. Shortly afterwards, there are rumors swirling on the internet that they may be dating. And it comes out that Taylor saw that clip and reached out to him and was like, well,
Did
hey,
did is that actually what happened, or were they
yes,
already kinda together and then that
no,
is oh.
no.
Ah,
Taylor like reached out to him and was like, you wanted my
there you
number.
go. You can
Give me your number,
apply
boy.
the bracelet.
Yeah, give me that bracelet. And like rumors are swirling for like a couple of months. Like people are like, I think they might be dating. And then in September of 2023, she goes to his game
Oh.
and we get the like image of them like walking out, and then they like get in his convertible and he like drives them away in their getaway car, and everyone is like, oh my God. And from there it's history, and we get to watch this beautiful love story unfold.
Oh my gosh, it's just like everything about like every time she goes to a game, especially those first ones, and she's talking to oh my god, her bestie, like
Yeah,
she's got yeah, and you literally can just like I'm not a lip reader, but I can read what she's saying, and she's just
yeah,
like, check him out. Like, how
yes,
hot is
yeah,
he? And he's just like looking up at the screen, like looking at her after he's like, I don't
yes.
know, had a touchdown or whatever he's done. And it's just you just see
And
his
he's,
love
like, making the
story.
little, like, Taylor heart, like, this
Oh
is,
my
like, a
god.
classic Swiftie thing
It's
to do, and, like, when he makes a touchdown, it's just, like it is, like, the American dream. Like,
it
it's,
is,
like, American love
it is.
story.
But, like, the chemistry between the 2 of them, and I really and look, I'm gonna be honest here, I think it comes a lot from the guy, right? I think it comes a lot from him. I love Travis because I feel like even though he is so famous, he seems to come from a really nice family. Like, it feels
Yeah,
like they're really, like,
and so does
traditional family.
Taylor.
Yes, And you get this feeling that even though, like, I don't know, his brother keeps him down to earth, he's got a lovely relationship with his wife and things like that. And you just get this feeling, even though he's very famous, he's still traditional values. He does wear some pretty weird clothes. I'll give him that. I mean, he could do with a few, like, fashion
Yeah,
change, like
yeah.
some leopard
Maybe
print
Taylor will
boots
help with
and
that.
stuff. Like, yeah, that's
But he's
probably,
very
but that's
fashionable.
okay. We can fix that. We can fix that.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah.
The important thing is just his body language. It's like he always wants to touch her, protect her. Like, he just seems so caring and nurturing. And as I said, he seems so supportive of her
Mhm.
as an artist, as an individual. He just wants to see her succeed. And I think, and that shows a lot of confidence that he has to allow that.
Yeah,
And I think it's beautiful. I love it. I am totally on that train. I want them. I'm like, when are they getting engaged already? Like, I want them
I
engaged.
know.
Like, come
I
on,
know.
guys.
I know. I know. I want them engaged. It's so cute.
It is cute.
I know she would never do this, but, like, I want a public, like, a live stream of their
Oh,
wedding,
in front of
like
the
Kim
Eiffel
K
Tower.
did, but I know she would never do that. And she even literally says, like, "And no, you can't come to the wedding" in one of the songs on Tortured Poets Department. So that all leads us to the Tortured Poets Department, which came out in 2024. It's, I'm still processing. There's a lot of there's a lot of songs. Some of the
Yes.
bookish songs are that I think are I Hate It Here. This is the song that's really kind of like hitting the Instagram community because it's saying like I hate it here, so I'm going to go to these like secret gardens in my mind. People love it. I really think the song Florida is very bookish. It's sort of like
I like
it's that
Florida.
escapism. Then the song Cassandra, which I don't really like that song very much, but I do still think that like it's talking about, this like mythical figure, very bookish. Um and I didn't pick a romantasy series for this because I want
Imagine.
the listeners' help. I'm still processing. I in like a couple of, like a week, I can't assign a romantasy series to this album. So I want to know what
Yeah.
you guys think the bookish series that goes with Tortured Poets Department
Oh
is.
my gosh, that's a hard pick. Well, look, and I have only heard some of the songs. I have not listened to the album from beginning to end yet, partly because I don't have a Spotify premium account because I'm saving to go to Europe. So I keep just getting like rounded, like it just takes me around in circles and it takes me back to like her old stuff or something. And I'm just like, okay, this is not it. But I have gone on YouTube and I've kind of gone through most of the songs. I love Florida. I
I love
love
Florida.
Guilty as Sin, especially when
Love
Sarah
that
J
song as
Maas
well.
released that. And I'm just like, oh, I think that has a lot of reference to the next Akatar book. I mean, it
Yeah.
does suggest a lot of Elaine and Azriel, which obviously hurts me as a Brycerial. I'm like, no. But I can also admit that
Or
relationship. Mm,
or
oh.
if Bryce happens to be in the next ACOTAR series. Because the way that I read the song Guilty as
Mhm.
Sin, this is how I read the song, is that
Okay.
she's kind of in a relationship, but she's having these like sexy thoughts about someone else.
Mm.
That's how I interpret that song. So, what if, theorizing, I just thought of this, what if Bryce is in there and Bryce is thinking about Azriel and feeling
I'll take
guilty?
it. I'll take it. I'm
Okay?
just like,
Like,
I will take it. I will 100% take it. I will. Oh God. I try and stay in light relationships, like, in as a podcaster. I try to not get too invested, but I have
yeah,
gone so deep down this rabbit warren. I'm
yeah,
so invested. I'm gonna get my
yeah.
heart broken if it doesn't work
Same,
out.
same. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Look, I mean, I think it'll be both. I do think that there's enough going on with Elaine and Az from that bonus chapter
yeah,
in the last book that we are going to have at least something explored. But I do believe that she's potentially going to end up with Lucian or possibly even Tamlin. Who knows? But I don't see all the Bat Boys ending up with an Archeron sister. I just think that's too boring. I'm just like,
it's
no.
too boring. It's too predictable. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
sorry for all the Gwynreal fans, but I just don't feel like there's enough of a bigger story with Gwyn to like be worthy of like, I don't know, just where does the story go from there? Where does it kind of lead on to? Whereas Bryce and Azriel, particularly with the whole Twilight of the Gods kind of theory, her starborn powers, potentially leader of all of, Prithian, there's just so much story there to explore. And that's kind of why I'm excited about it, because I just feel like there's so much story. But yes, no, so I'm very happy if that is a reference to Bryce and Azriel, but I will accept either.
Probably
I'm
not,
sure
but there's still hope. That's all I'm saying. Is like there's still hope. I think there's an interpretation of it that works.
just
You
really.
know what I totally forgot to talk about? I was gonna say, like, once she gets to like 2021, her Easter eggs become unhinged, Taylor Swift's. We
Mhm.
won't go into it now, but just know, like, if you're not a Swiftie and you love the like small Easter eggs that SJM does and that Rebecca Yarros does, like, there is a whole world for you in this Swiftie fandom of Easter eggs,
An
because
Easter egg lover.
seriously, lately they have been unhinged. Like, there is no other word for it. Anyway,
Mhm.
please continue your your thought.
It was just going to be something about Akatar and just loving everything and just wanting. I think I was just going to say that Sarah J. Maas really needs to give us the next book. I
Yeah.
just, the pain currently being inflicted in for everyone, like everyone is desperate to know who is Azrael's mate. Where is this story going? And we are just sitting in such an uncomfortable space right now. And I need some closure. I need some closure to be okay. And I know I'm not alone in this, whether you're a Bryce Ariel or whether you're a Gwynreal or an Elreal, whatever you are. It's just, we really need to know when the next book is getting released. And we need that next book so badly. Like,
Yeah,
please, Sarah,
absolutely.
please.
We do. We do.
Mhm,
She
mhm.
needs to be like Taylor and just release stuff every 6 months. Like, come on.
Exactly. Just bang it out. At least a few bonus
Bang it
chapters,
out.
whatever. Like, we'll take it. We'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah. So, Nicole, I want to know, I sent you 3.5 hours of songs to listen to. You said you've come up with a top 10. So what are your top 10 Swiftie songs from the collection that I sent you?
Well,
Or if
well,
you or of all this, like, if you've listened to
mm.
other things too, that's fine too.
I've gone with just general. All right, I did
General. Okay,
listen
great.
to your mix, which was a great mix, by the way, guys. Like, I'm sure that Ali is going to release it. I'm sure for all you Swiftie fans out there, it's a really great. It's kind of a romanticy kind of vibe. I know
Yeah, I tried to
tried to
take
give
like
me.
Amanda Seath
You
stuff.
tried to think about songs that I might not have heard before as well, to make sure that I really
Yeah.
got a mixture of those songs. Now, look, I won't lie. As I said before, I did feel like some of the songs felt a bit the same to me. Like, in fairness, I did listen to some of these while I was jogging, so my brain may not have been picking up on all the like words and deeper meanings, and I probably need to go back and listen to some of them again. So some of them I was a bit like, yeah, but there were also a few that really did stand out that I thought, yeah, that's actually really a good song, or I've gone back and I've listened to them again. Some that are definitely resonating, and some that are just fun. Some that I've just like, I know them, they're already big songs, and I obviously really like them. So, and just for anyone, I think I've gone over this already, but just in case, like, so my level of Taylor Swiftness, look, I like music. I like a variety of music. I probably sit a bit more in kind of a dance housey as my general genre, but honestly, I've not bought an album of music in forever. Like, I just listen to Spotify and I listen to all different tracks, and it's just about what song just has like the right vibe right now. But yeah, I'm generally very, very varied. So I enjoy Taylor, but I haven't like gone deep diving on it. So it's been really fun to do this. Okay, my top 10. My top 10. Now, these are just overall. I had to kind of go overall the songs that I love of Taylor's. So my 10th song is Delicate.
Oh, I love Delicate. Delicate is so good.
Such a beautiful song. Such a beautiful. I think that was playing, and even my daughter was singing along to it. So, just to make this more difficult, none of my 3 children like Taylor Swift. None of them. So every time I was in the car and I'm trying to pick them up from school, they'd be like, "Mom, turn this Taylor Swift off. I don't like it." And my 12-year-old is there, and he's like, "Yeah, her old stuff's better than her new stuff." Like he knows. I'm like,
Yeah,
and
right.
you've listened to her old stuff, have you? Like, buddy, I don't think
Yeah,
you've
you
actually ever
listen to all of
listened to
it
Taylor
to
Swift.
make that assessment.
Yeah, but
That's so
awesome. But
cute.
yeah, even she was singing along to Delicate. So yeah.
I love Delicate.
All right. Number 9 is Getaway.
Getaway Car, so
Getaway
good.
Car.
So
Love
good.
that. Love that.
Okay, you got some Reputation vibes, got some Reputation coming in
Yes, that's
strong.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Definitely had to get a bit of reputation in there. It'll be interesting to see whether you think there's a particular genre to the kind of like the style of songs that I generally pick of Taylor's.
Yeah.
Okay, number 8 is Wildest Dreams.
Yes,
This
it's
is
very good.
romantic. This is
So
beautiful. It's just I don't know. I say it's just for a vibes listener. It's a
mhm.
really nice song. It resonates really nicely.
Yeah, and very bookish, very romantic-y, I think.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I love a bit of romance, but I love where sometimes it burns. It burns and it hurts and it
Mhm.
feels a bit sad or like
Yeah,
there's yearning in it or something. I think I love that in my songs.
yeah, yeah.
Number 7 is Cruel Summer. So
Very good choice, very
it's
good
a
choice.
top, like it's an
It's such a
anthem really,
banger.
isn't it? It's an anthem. Like it can't not be in my top 10. It just has to be
No,
there.
it
So
has to be there. Yeah, absolutely.
number 6 is Look What You Made Me Do. Um,
Wow! Okay, okay.
yeah,
I
I
love that song.
I
A
love
lot
this
of people
song.
don't like it. They think it's, like, repetitive. I don't know, but I love it. It's a great song.
It's sassy, it's different. I think part of what I like is that it's different and it's a bit more gritty. Because as I said, I feel like a lot of
Mhm.
Taylor's songs are very romantic and airy and they sound very similar. I like that she changed up her style with this song. She went gritty, she tried something new.
Yeah,
And I know, and as I say, for a vibe, it gives me that badass kind of vibe. And it's yeah. So I really like that. And
yeah. You
now
should definitely go watch
understanding
the music video.
yeah, and understanding the relevance of where she was at with things at that time, just adds in a layer to that as well, which
Yeah,
I think is
yeah.
awesome. Number 5 is Love Story.
It
It has
has
to
to
be
be
on
on
it.
the
It
list.
has to be on
It's
the list.
too
It's
good. It's
beautiful,
classic.
and it is a timeless song. It really is a
Yeah.
timeless song. It's one of those songs you hear it, it's sweet, it's beautiful, very Romeo and Juliet. It's a beautiful song,
It's so
and it just
it's crazy to think she wrote that at 17.
yeah, nuts, nuts,
Yeah.
but beautiful
Okay.
song. Number 4 is her song, but sung by someone else, and that is Calvin Harris's "This Is What You Came For."
This is what you came for. Yeah.
As I said, I'm actually a big dance housey kind of person, and I loved that song. And at first, I didn't realize that Taylor had written it, but then when I found out that she
Mhm.
had, I was like, "Oh, of course." I was like, "It totally has her style
Your
written
style.
all
Yeah,
over it."
totally.
And I love that, give or take what happened in their relationship, I kinda love that they obviously really collaborated together to create music, which I thought was really
Yeah.
cool, and I love because Calvin Harris I love Calvin Harris as the music he was making at that time. He had some amazing tracks, and I love that they worked together on a few tracks. I think that was really cool. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, number 3
I'm
is
so excited for your
Lavender
top 3.
Haze.
Oh,
I love
Lavender Haze has such
Lavender
a
Haze.
good place in my heart. It's such a good song. It's such a
Such a good
vibe. It's
song.
such a
It's a
vibe.
vibe. Just gives me a feel. It's, like, warm and romantic, and I don't know, but when I heard that song, it didn't even sound like Taylor Swift, and even my husband heard it, and he's like, "I like this song," and I was like, "It's Taylor Swift," and he was like, "Really?" It was
Really?
like say,
Yeah.
it attracted people that aren't even into Taylor Swift, sounded very different, and was just yeah,
Mhm.
awesome track, love it. Number 2 is Guilty as Sin.
Wow! You
Yeah,
like it that much? Okay, that's
I
exciting. I love it. I
I
love Guilty as Sin.
right, so I've listened to obviously some of the songs on the new track, the new album, and I definitely are a couple of great ones. Like Fortnight's great, like there's a few really good ones. For some reason, Guilty as Sin, whether it's Sarah J Maas releasing it or whatever, but I just kept listening to it. I listened to it again and again and again, and there's that romantic yearning kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and I don't know, I'm frothing for this song right now. I just want to keep listening to this song. It gives me a feeling. It gives me a feeling of want and love. And is it requited or unrequited? And I don't even know. And I just need to explore it more. So that is where
yeah.
I'm at currently with this song.
I love it. I didn't love the song when I first heard the album, but it's been, like, growing on me, and I'm, like, to a point now where I'm, like,
Grow
loving
up.
it.
The grow
Yeah.
up.
I mean,
Yeah,
my
I'm the
number 1
same.
song on the new album is Down Bad. Like, that song, I just, like something about the vibes of that song, I just wanna, like, dance and cry, and, like, I love that song too, but,
Mhm, mhm.
Guilty as Sin is really good.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm
There's a
so
few.
I'm so excited for it.
I'm really looking forward to going back and still listening to more of those tracks because I think the more I've listened to them, the more that they're resonating. So I think it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Number 1. Have a guess. What do you think my number 1 is?
I think it's gonna be All Too Well, 10-minute version.
It is.
Yeah.
It is all too well.
Yay! Yes!
Oh, it's so
It's so
beautiful.
good. It's so good.
Sad. It's like just haunting. Like it just catches something in there and it just sits with
Mhm.
you and you just want to keep listening to it. And it's got pain in it. And I like a bit of pain in my music.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
gotta
The
feel it.
line, "Did the twin flame bruise paint you blue?" is like freaking Shakespeare to me. Like, I honestly, like, wanna play that game where you're like, "Is it Taylor Swift or Shakespeare?" And I feel like I could trick people with that line. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a couple of top favorites for you? I mean, I know this is like trying to
Yeah.
pick favorite children, I'm sure, but
It's so yeah, it is really hard. I always say that Ivy is like my number one. It's a song that I can always come back to and find something new in. I find it to be very haunting, because it's about like being in a relationship and loving someone else. And having that kind of other person come in and just like get under your skin and then like the bridge, like it's like, like it's the goddamn fight of our lives and you started it. Like it feels so like resand to me. So Ivy to me is like one of
the
my
epitome.
all-time
Yeah.
favorites. Yeah.
Mhm.
I also love the song Wonderland. It just like it's very like again, it's like about like we found this like wonderland, we found this like dreamscape, and then it all had to come crashing down. And I love that song. There's a lot to it. The song Clean as well, which is also on 1989, to me it's just so potent. Because the imagery is like, I'm getting finally I was washed clean, like the rain came and it washed me clean. And it feels like it just has such powerful imagery for me. So those are the ones that I can just like say with certainty are like
Yes.
my tops. I don't know if I could make a top 10. I think it would be very, very hard for me. Yeah, it would be like a top 50. It's interesting, like I didn't put all of my favorite songs on your playlist because I was trying to pick songs that like you maybe didn't hear before or that had like more
Yeah.
romantic vibes.
Yes.
I love the song Haunted from Speak Now. That's about my like from the Speak Now album is like my favorite.
Mhm.
I think that's so good. I Can See You, which is a vault track from Speak Now, is also it just like is such a good little bop.
Mhm. Mhm.
I could honestly, if I keep going, I would talk for like 20 more minutes. So it's
Yeah.
just
I
like
think what's
it's so hard for
beautiful
me.
is that you've obviously got something that you love so much, like
Yeah.
something that brings you so much happiness and joy. And that is what we get from music, from books. And I think that's what's really important and that's what on romantic readers, that's what we celebrate, that we have things that make us happy. And even if there are little secret thing that we just like to go when we're having a bath or going for a walk or whatever, and we grab it and we listen to it or read it, it's what makes us happy. And it's just, I think it's wonderful to celebrate that. And I think it's beautiful
Yeah.
that Taylor has obviously created these songs that resonate not just with you, but with so many people. And that's really beautiful.
And some of our favorite authors.
That's
So there's
right.
something
That's
there.
right. And if
There's
she
something
inspires
there.
them to keep creating these beautiful MMCs and these beautiful love stories, I am very, very happy. So
Yeah. So Nicole, I don't think that this podcast was ever going to like make you a Swiftie right away, right? I don't know that we could probably make you a Swiftie with just one podcast. But do you feel like you have more interest in Taylor now? Like you want to go and like listen to more music now that you have the context?
yeah, absolutely. Look, first of all, it's great to have more of an understanding of like Taylor's whole journey, not just through her music, but also outside. Like I probably had a lot of that knowledge that like the media had given to us
Yeah.
and some knowledge and understanding, and then just your general feelings and vibes based on that. But she's obviously gone through some really challenging times, not just her relationships, but also with owning her music and how people have treated her along the way and the whole drama with Kanye and Kim, all that, she's been through a lot. And I just want to call that out for starters to say that, that's obviously a lot that she's gone through. But I'm definitely interested to hear more of her music. I won't lie that when I first started, I was a bit like, oh God, I'm just going to listen to nonstop Taylor Swift and that might be torture. It's like, oh. But I can, as I said, there have been songs that I've listened to where I might not have loved it the first time, but by the third or fourth listen, it's grown on me. So I
Yeah.
do think I'm going to go and listen to some more of her tracks. I really want to listen to the full Reputation. I really kind of want to hear that whole album from start to
Yeah.
finish and get that feel of it. I really want to listen to her new album a couple more times and pick up those other songs and listen to the ones I like a few more times. Yeah, I'm really interested in that. I'm very interested in all the songs that are resonating in the romantasy space with the authors and that. Like, as I say,
Yeah.
when they release a song, I'm kind of like, oh, what is this song? I want to listen to this song from start to finish, inside out, because is it giving us some hints about the books?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And as I said, and most and foremost, I just love her romance. I love that her real life is turning into this beautiful romance story. And I just want a
Yeah.
happily ever after for Taylor. I hope that her and Travis are endgame. And I'm just frothing for every little bit of information we can get on their love story.
Yeah. I think up until now, our longest podcast was one of our Bryce Rule episodes, and I think we might have topped it. We're at 2 hours.
About
So
to go 2 hours. Yeah.
yeah, if you are still listening, folks, thanks for hanging in there with us. It's a very long podcast episode. Thank you for listening. Any final thoughts, Nicole, before we wrap up?
No, I think that's
we-
about it. I apologize if I've said anything to upset any Swifties. It's like
Don't
I've
be
tried
the
I've
Swifties are
tried
kind.
to
They
be
get
the
such a
devil's
bad rep on the
advocate
internet.
to try and show like what maybe non-Swifties are thinking and like what where they might be at. But I said I've had so much fun, and this has been really great to get this information. And thank you, Ali, for putting in all that work to prepare all this for today. I know that's probably a lot of. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't too much of a struggle for you to go and do Taylor Swift
No, it's
research.
fun.
I'm sure that was I'm sure you found the time somehow. But it was really fun to learn about her today.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for listening. As always, you can find us on our Instagrams. You can always send us an email at romantasyreaders@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of the episode. And let me know if you agree with my book romantasy series selections for albums, if you disagree, if you have other ideas. And thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.